worried about what's
no,
going to happen
sure.
after that.
Absolutely. Well, let's take some calls, see what people say.
OK, we'll go to Susan first on line 1.
Susan, good morning.
Hi, Emma.
Hi there, thanks for picking up the phone. What's the story then, Sue?
Well, the first time I was exposed to, I was about 8. I was walking down like a little country lane with my friend.
Right.
We were walking back from her house back to mine. Yes,
yeah.
8.
8 years old.
We'd passed sort of like this big hedge thing, and this guy must have jumped out from behind it, and he called to us, and we turned round. We were about 6 to 8 feet away from him, and he was waggling this thing at us. I find it quite funny now, to be honest with you. And of course, I was 8. I didn't know about the male anatomy.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought he needed to see a doctor, and I said to him, "You have to go and see a doctor about that."
In many ways, you were right, weren't you, Susan? Yeah.
Looking back, he should have seen a doctor for several reasons.
Yes. And you said right at the beginning there, the first time, it's happened. It's happened again?
It's happened, yes. People rubbing up against you on the train and things, groping and things like that. But I normally find that just turning around and facing them and giving them a really evil look will put them in their place. And if it doesn't, then you just say very loudly, "Do you mind stepping back?"
You dirty old... Yeah. Well, that's... yes. Susan, thank you.
Next caller is Sue on line 2.
Sue, good morning.
Morning.
Hi there. So, what was your view on this, Sue?
Well, to be honest, it's not always the dirty old men that do it, or the quiet, shy ones. I was actually molested by a security guard. I was just walking down one of the main streets, and he just came out of nowhere and grabbed my backside.
And what did you do? What did you say?
Well, my boyfriend was just going...
Your boyfriend was
there? But I was trying to, like, just say, leave it, walk away. But it was just the fact that it was the ultimate shock that this man in a uniform just grabbed me.
Did you report him?
Hold on. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got that bit, and I think we'll keep that bit off. I could just hear that. Sue, thank you for the call. Let's have another.
OK, we'll go to Elizabeth
on
line 3.
a merchant banker. What was that anyway?
Elizabeth on line 3.
Elizabeth, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Matthew.
What's your story, Elizabeth?
My story is I'm 62 years old, but when I first started work, I was 15 years old, and I worked in a ladies' fashion store. And the manageress used to send me for a shopping, and I had to go to the butcher's shop to collect a boot. And the owner of the shop he said, "Come round here and I'll give you the bag." Grabbed me, put his hand up my skirt and kissed me, a big slobbery kiss. And I was in a total state of shock. Quickly hurried out the shop, went back, gave the manageress a butcher meat and never said a word to anyone.
Because of the shame?
It was shame, shock, and I just couldn't cope with it. I didn't know how to cope with it. Obviously, it stayed with me all these years, but if after that occasion anybody ever touched me inappropriately, I would always pull them up about it.
I'm getting the feeling this is happening time and time again.
I believe it happens to every woman at least once.
Yes, I've heard from friends too that it's happened,
Every woman at least once.
I believe that.
A lady working in our gallery saying she reckons 10 times.
But also the other thing is you can imagine that if a woman said, say for example, that lovely lady who's saying, you know, when she was 15, started that job and then this guy came up, you can imagine the bloke would say, look, you know, if she did complain, he'd say, look, it was just a bit of a laugh and a joke, you know, and blokes kind of pass it off as nothing. But, you know, we all remember those things that happened to us. You know,
I don't think it's supposed to be, I would say it's offenders in this case. I think it's disgusting. I mean, I think it's disgusting. Intimidating and making people feel... I think it's terrible.
To be honest, Matthew, I don't travel on a tube at night anymore because it was only about two months ago that there was some youths on the train that sort of got very friendly, and I just thought, why am I here? Why am I on this tube? There was nobody looking after me or anything, and they were just laughing that, you know, perhaps because I was famous, I was on a tube and they could manhandle me. Do you know what I mean?
I have had humiliation. Mine was teasing by schoolgirls in a non-sexual way, but I have to say at the end of it I thought, they win, I'm not doing this again. Elizabeth, thank you for the call. Let's have another.
OK, our last caller is Felicity on line 4.
Felicity, good morning.
Hello.
Morning, thanks for calling. What's your story, Felicity?
I was on a London tube, and it was quite crowded, and I felt my skirt lift up, and a hand touched fingers touched my knickers, and they moved,
just
absolutely awful.
you're not moving here. You're just standing there.
I'm just standing there, and this assault is taking place on a crowded tube, and I turned. He was. I mean, I think obviously it's something to do with having power over people, isn't it?
Yeah.
He was, and this is not a racist.
Well, then maybe you don't need to go down there because people are perverts from across the colour spectrum.
But I was sort of 45 at the time, blonde hair, and when I turned around, this guy was respectable-looking, Asian guy, and whipped off the tube when the tube stopped, and never to be seen again. And he'd had this intimate contact with me, you know.
Do you know? I just don't think it should be allowed, which is a stupid thing to say. I just don't know how you stop it. It just
do you
it's
remind
call
people
after call
that
after call. We could do this for the next 5 hours.
Do you remind people that it's happening? Do you put up posters and make a campaign?
Maybe we should. I think it's unacceptable.
And
Absolutely
people don't really
unacceptable.
talk about it. And actually, when I put it in the book, it didn't. It's so commonplace to me. It didn't really cross my mind that anyone would think anything of it. And actually, it's something that lots of people have picked up on. So I think, yeah, let's get the campaign started.
Maybe we should do a campaign. You know, get some kind of campaign, or the police do. It is unacceptable that almost every woman.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, an unhappy conclusion, perhaps, to the panel part of the show. We've got to take a break. Before we do, I've got to wave away the gang here. Juice Master Jason Vale still to come, of course. Fiona, favourite TV person. Thank you very much for coming along.
My pleasure.
Savvy. And Antiques Roadshow. More tears. Yeah. More tears. Oh, if only you'd had a pair. Posh London serum. And Richard and Shona, thank you very much as well. It's been a cracking show. Thank you very much for that. Give it up for the panel.